Is NovaTech finally going to court? Will there be any resolution to us getting any of our money back? Stick around. I've got some court documents here that just recently came out, and I'm going to bring new information to you about an upcoming court hearing scheduled for next week. Yes, next week. Don't leave. Today is September 21st. We're going to talk about a court date that's coming up next week. Be Thursday on the 28th. Before we dive into this, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not your financial advisor, nor anyone else's. I don't even give myself financial advice. I'm just bringing you my journey in this crypto space or anything that's related to it. I like to find ways that I could dabble in getting some passive income while I'm off doing something else. So before you dive into any projects, any platform, any company, do your own due diligence, do your research, only use risk capital, which is money that you can afford to lose. And if you make a profit in the end, that's great. Then you move on to another one. Let's take a look at what's going on. I just recently learned of these court documents. I did some digging and I found them. So I'm going to bring that to you today. I'm going to try to keep this short, but this is oh my gosh, how many pages? This is a 12-page court document. As you can see, I've got highlighting. I'm going to bring the details, the highlights to you. So might be a little bit longer, but I'm going to try to fly through this. So let's first start with this notice of hearing in the matter of NovaTech Ltd. And Cynthia Petian. This was apparently, it's dated, I have a date on here of August 25th. The proceeding type is enforcement proceedings. Now this is coming out of Canada. This is from the Capital Markets Tribunal, I guess, which is somehow under the Ontario Securities Commission. So this first print off that I have is giving notice of a hearing date and time, September 28th, 2023. That's next week, Thursday at 10 a.m. The location is by video conference. So nope, you can't go to any courthouse or governmental building and go there and watch. This is going to be done by video conference. And the purpose of this proceeding, I'm going to read this for you, is to consider whether it is in the public interest for the Capital Markets Tribunal to make the order or orders requested in the statement of allegations filed by staff of the Commission on August 24th, 2023. Now, one of the pages here, I'm going to hold this up. Failure to attend. If a party does not attend, the hearing may proceed in the party's absence, and the party will not be entitled to any further notice in the proceeding. So let's dive into this court document. You're gonna have to bear with me. Some of the stuff I might not be able to edit out. So this court document is dated on the 24th of August, and I'm gonna bring this up. I'm gonna do some screen sharing here, so you're gonna see it for yourself. This was issued out of the Ontario Securities Commission from Toronto, Ontario, from the enforcement branch, and it gives names, phone numbers, email addresses, and such. So let's dive right into this. You don't need to be looking at me any further. So let's take a look at this document here and let's go over it and let's see what is going on, because we're finally starting to see. There's been lots of rumors that stuff is tied up, and the reason that the Petians are not communicating is because of court hearings, legal matters. I wondered, I questioned if it was legit or not. Now I'm starting to find these court documents, doing some digging, and yes, there are matters involved in courts, whether it's the United States or Canada. I have not been able to find anything out of the United States yet. You stick with me. You subscribe to my channel. You like this video, and if I find something out of the United States, you're going to be the first one to get that information, because I'm going to try to bring it to you as quick as I can. I did find this the other day. I wasn't able to jump right on and get this video, plus I wanted to do some digging and really go over this court document so I could bring it to you the best of my ability. So I don't know if you can see my mouse here, but we're going to start with the overview. And pretty much what it is stating is And I'm going to put the link for this in the description, so you can go back through, you can print it off, you can really read it at your leisure. It states NovaTech Ltd. and its Chief Executive Officer, Cynthia Petian. It does not mention anyone else throughout this entire document. It's only focused on Cynthia Petian. So it states, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you see aggressive and widespread campaign in the internet, social media. They're stating that they sold these securities without registration and without prospectus disclosure. Okay, we all know what it means to be registered, but prospectus disclosure, that is a formal document that anyone, if I want to do something like this, I'm going to have to file a formal document that gives all the details, whoever is involved, where the money's coming from, how the money is going to be handled, disclose absolutely everything. That's what a prospectus disclosure document is. It says that they continued to do so in the face of cease order issued by Ontario Securities Commission. These business activities have also attracted concerns by other Canadian and U.S. securities regulators. That I found very important. These business activities have also, not may, but have also attracted concerns by other Canadian and U.S. securities regulators. So that tells me that they are aware of something going on the U.S. side. So, and then as it goes down through here, it's talking about the PAM accounts, and we all know what the PAM accounts are. We don't really need to elaborate on those much. Let me see. Did I just skip a page? I did. There we go. Okay, so we're going to jump into here where they talk about the kind of a timeline that on December 13th that they issued an investor warning. And yeah, we all knew about that. We saw that. That was out there. But to us, it was like, it's just a warning. It's just telling the people, hey, be careful what you're doing. But they took that serious because early February 2023, the company announced that it decided to place a temporary freeze on withdrawals from investor accounts. Notwithstanding this announcement, it continued to accept new investments in the PAM account. I found this, that's why I got purple here. When you see purple, I'm going down through here. Pay attention to that. In light of these ongoing investor protection concerns, their warnings that they put out, the OSC, the Ontario Securities Commission, issued a temporary cease trade order against NovaTech Ltd. on February 16. The order was extended by the Capital Markets Tribunal on March 2nd. The respondents breached this order by allowing reinvestments of purported returns into PAM units and by selling new PAM units to Ontario investors. Now, I do remember when NovaTech, they kind of stopped, if I got the timeline, accepting new people out of Canada, but they allowed them just to roll their ROIs back in. Apparently, they did not like this out of the Securities Commission. It says, while the respondents made changes to make it appear that they are restricting individuals involved, we're right down here, in perpetuating NovaTech's multi-level marketing scheme, they use scheme, we're publicly disseminating instructions on how to circumvent geographic restrictions. I've had some of the leaders kind of up my upline who were against that, who were very careful in what they're saying, and made a couple Zoom videos. Say, I am not telling you to change your address. Don't do that. But at the same time, I saw a post, and I've heard a lot of other people say, change your address, make up an address, get an LLC in another country. And they were putting that out there. And obviously, the Securities Commission was watching all that. It says during this period on number 8, other Canadian provincial securities regulators published warnings. So it goes on and talks about kind of the history of a NovaTech, gets into like the PAM accounts, that it's beginning around June of 2019, that they had this PAM account going in activities. It talks about September 26th of 19, that they were incorporated in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and this is all information that we knew. It goes on and talks about Cynthia here on page 4, and pretty much how the whole company was constructed, how it was run. It talks about, pooled investor funds in Forex market in 0.16, generating profits. Talks about the percentage that's earned. We go to page 5, and it goes on and it continues. And I'm not going to get into all this historical stuff. It talks about, people joining. I did find this, apparently the Securities Commission here in number 22. It talks about they found this video posted where Cynthia stating that I have people who started with $99 accounts and are now buying Mercedes and living in nice houses they would never lived in. I don't have a problem with that. Hey, if someone wants to use their money and realize it's risk and that they might lose it, but yet they build up an account, maybe they are heavily involved in multi-level marketing, and they're able to buy nice cars, good for them. But the Canadian Securities Commission, for some reason, they're hung up on that. Let's see. So we go to page 6 here. Again, the link is down in the description. You can go to the website. You can print this out and read every single detail. It talks about here in number 3 on 25. Again, it says, attracted the attention of outside. It talks about November 22, the California, December 13 issued, warning. Some of this is kind of repeat. Now we're getting into the good stuff. So we're going to look at the very top here. Early February 2023, NovaTech announced that it decided to place a temporary freeze on withdrawals from investor accounts. Notwithstanding this announcement, NovaTech continued to accept new investments in its PAM product. Looking at point 4, number 30, we're looking at violating the temporary cease trade order. This is where their trade commission is really getting hung up on this. On February 16th, the Ontario Securities Commission issued a temporary cease trade order, the TCTO, temporary cease trade order. Say that fast 5 times. In respect of NovaTech's activities, which order that, and it goes on. Well, we're going to look down here in 31. Go back up here to 30. Order that all traded securities or persons shall cease. The acquisition by securities by NovaTech shall cease. Pretty much they're saying, look, you need to cease doing everything. And on March 2nd, the tribunal extended that cease trade order. In number 32, says NovaTech failed to comply with the terms. While the TCTO was enforced, NovaTech continued to trade in securities, including by allowing reinvestment of purported returns into PAM units and by selling new units to Ontario investors. We're going to hop down to 34, where it talks about investors in PAM units, including Ontario investors, were advised to take steps to circumvent geographic restrictions imposed through the website. These practices were disclosed publicly, including in videos posted on YouTube and by groups of investors participating in the marketing program. Looking at unregistered trading on page 8, none of the respondents have ever registered with the Ontario Securities Commission to trade in securities. It says no exemptions from the registration requirement were available to the respondents, that's Cynthia and NovaTech, under Ontario Securities law. You can read this as it goes on. I would like to get to page 10. Orders sought. What is this trade commission looking to do? So that means if Cynthia or representatives, attorneys do not appear next week Thursday through video at 10 a.m., they're pretty much, I guess the Ontario Trade Commission can do what they want. And what is that? Well, the enforcement staff request that the tribunal make the following orders. Number 50, as against NovaTech and Pedion, that they cease trading in any securities or derivatives permanently or for such period as specified by the tribunal. Now you're going to see that repeated, permanently or for such period as specified. So it doesn't mean completely done. When I read something like that, that tells me that if Cynthia goes in, somehow makes a deal with them and says, yes, I will get everything licensed properly and the way that it should be, they may be slapped with a suspension, a fine, and we're going to get into that. You're going to like this one. But when I see or for such period as specified, doesn't mean that it is forever and eternity. B, that they be prohibited from acquiring any securities, again, permanently or for a period of time, that any exemptions obtained in Ontario security law do not apply to them, again, permanently or as specified, that they be reprimanded pursuant to paragraph 6 of subsection, whatever that is. What reprimanded? That they be prohibited from becoming or acting as a registrant or promoter, that, okay, here we go, that they pay an administrative penalty of not more than $1 million for each failure to comply with Ontario securities law. $1 million for each failure to comply. I read that, and first thing I thought was, how many failures are there? What are they considering a failure? That's not more than $1 million for each. And I'm very interested. I'm going to try to follow this and see if I can determine how many failures. G, that they disgorge to the Ontario Securities Commission any amounts obtained in the result of non-compliance. Disgorge, release. That they release, that they tell the Securities Commission the amounts obtained, that they pay cost of the Ontario Securities Commission investigation and hearing. And if this investigation has been going on for months, that could be substantial. 51, and further against Petian, that she resign any position that she holds pursuant to, that she be prohibited from becoming or acting as a director or officer of any issuer permanently or for such period, that she resign any position, again, director or officer of any registrant. I got reading here and I didn't turn the page here. So page 11. And further, resigns, and the last point, that she be prohibited from becoming or acting as a director or officer of any registrant permanently for such period as specified. So, that is the document. Pulling out some highlights, as you can see, dated the 24th day of August, out of the Ontario Securities Commission. Let's go back up to the very first page. This is the first page. So there we have it. The court document, touching on some highlights. Hearings coming up next week, Thursday. This is out of Canada. Will something soon be coming out of the US? I'm going to follow it as close as I can. I'm going to try to keep my finger on the pulse. That's what I always promised you guys. So subscribe to my channel, hit that like button. I'm going to try to stay on top of this. They could be in Dubai. They could be like, I don't care. I grabbed the money and I ran. I don't know. We don't know. But they've always been saying all along, from the top leaders who had direct contact with the Petians, trickling all the way down, and yes, it gets diluted, I'm sure, in some distortion, but they were always saying that it's tied up in a legal system. And now I'm starting to see the actual court documents. I'm starting to see where there's actual court dates and times that's relating to NovaTech and the Petians. So that tells me that the information that was trickling down is factual. Once they go through all this, does it mean that 6, 9, 12 months from now that we could be seeing something with our funds? I don't know. I'm not holding my breath, but there's a possibility. In the meantime, I've been looking at other platforms that I can at least try to recoup some of my money. You look at some of my other videos. The payouts kind of got hung up a little bit, and here in another week and a half, they're projected to start paying out again. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that's true. If that's the case, then I'm going to recoup some money from that will pay me back what I lost in NovaTech. So I'm not going to babble on. Go to the description. There's a link that'll take you to the site where you can look at the court documents yourself and read the entire document. Let me know what you think. about this, and I'm going to bring information to you as soon as I get it. So everyone, have yourself a great day.